Hey guys, Stamina here, and today I'm making a video on how pros manipulate rotates on the T side of Ancient. I'll be diving into two ideas used by Nip and Astralis. I hope you enjoyed the video. So when T's take mid on Ancient, typically what you're going to see is you're going to usually see a house smoke, you're going to see a donut smoke, you're going to see a mid cubby molly, and then typically you're going to be met with counter utility from the CTs, which you'll have to smoke their molly, and then you're obviously going to flash however many people out mid to take mid control. But in this scenario, you end up using 3 smokes on molly and a ton of flashes to get mid control. And this can be beneficial for you, and it is something that you should have in your playbook. But most pro teams understand that if you're doing this every single round, you're severely hindering your ability to mid round and end rounds with a lot of utility. So what a lot of pro teams look to do is they look to actually gather the same exact space in this map control by putting a lot of pressure on different parts of the map. So I have a couple different ways you can do this on Ancient. I'm going to go over those for you. So the first option is really simple. The idea here is that we're going to take A main control at the beginning of the round. Now you can do this in a couple different ways. If you expect that the CTs might be pushing A main, you can throw a flash like this that will land in this cubby for your entry fragger to come in here and clear out A main. And once he has A main control, you're all set with that guy. Now, while this is happening, you're going to have a couple guys outside of mid, and you're going to have a guy back here who's looking to throw a couple of nades. Now, this guy who's an entry into A main can drop his smoke over here in this cubby, and the support player is actually going to throw 2 nade sets for him. While this is happening, you're still going to have a guy lurking B, and we'll get back to him in a little bit, but he's just kind of sitting back here, you know, making sure that nothing crazy is happening towards B. And if he throws any super, you know, basic util every round, maybe he throws a flash over B typically, or maybe he like throws an HE for long, he can throw that same utility to kind of like mask the idea that you're still heavy toward that bomb site. But what's going to happen is once you have A main control with one rifler, you can have another rifler come here. Okay, and what he's going to do is he's going to throw 2 smokes. So he's going to throw a spawn smoke, so you're going to aim, you're going to look for this kind of block here, and you're going to aim at this bottom trim, and you're going to jump through. Now this will smoke off spawn, and if you look for this rock right here and you just come above it and you do a forward jump throw, this will smoke off donut. Now remember, we already have a guy deep into A main, and he dropped his smoke back to the guy who's throwing the support nades. This guy, if he's able to make it up to this point right here, is in a really good position because he can quickly clear tree. And while he is susceptible to somebody peeking around big box or plat, it's worth the risk in this scenario because players don't really default there that much. So what he's going to do is he's going to look to molly back default, and then he's going to throw a couple of flashes like this. Now, while he's doing this, this player who threw the support nades can also just toss a couple flashes over and look to put some pressure like we're actually hitting the A bomb site. Now, if the CTs respect these smokes, what you're going to end up seeing is you're going to see the defense shift. If there's maybe 2 players in mid, maybe one of them falls back to donut and he comes here and he plays to nade this smoke and fight here. And maybe the other guy was in house and maybe he falls back and he looks to rotate spawn. And now we're in a scenario where you have the A player who's maybe playing around default. Maybe he had to smoke that molly to live. You've got another rotate coming into temple, and you have a guy in donut. So this actually frees up the opportunity to take mid control from those 2 other players. What a lot of teams will do is they'll start to like walk and like prod out mid as this is happening, and they'll just throw a simple house smoke on its own to then take mid control. So now we've gathered the same exact map control by just throwing 1 smoke, right? We still have mid control. It's highly unlikely that somebody would just hide in this cubby. And even if they are, you can clear them pretty easily, right? But you still have mid control. Now, as that's happening, this B player can actually look to kind of progress into B if he hasn't been met with like a door smoke or anything like that. And he can make his way toward catwalk. Now, if he manages to do this while these guys are going mid, he can actually look to molly back cheetah, and he can maybe do a jump spot, make sure that nobody's peeking, and he can potentially control cheetah while these guys are controlling mid, all based on this simple A fake. Now, most teams are going to respect this, but if for whatever reason a team doesn't respect this guy who's actually throwing this bait utility can start to do some little like jump spots and see if anybody's playing on the bomb site. And if nobody's just playing here straight up, or maybe he heard like an op get blind in temple and shoot, he could like follow that with like another flash into temple, and he could actually, I missed it, but you get the idea. He could look to actually take this bomb site. So what's really unique about defaulting like this is you might find yourself in a situation where, you know, you look to fake A to take mid control and to get cheetah control, but in actuality, they just weren't playing here at all, and they didn't respect it. So in that case, if you actually had a couple guys here to react off of this, you could indeed actually just go A. Now, in this exact scenario, there's only one guy here, so it's probably not that great, but you could actually just take one of the mid players and this guy who throws 2 smokes, and they could run up into A main, and they could look to actually take the bomb site if it presents itself. Now, one unique thing that I saw Nip doing in CSGO was they would actually do a very similar fake, but what they would do is once they had main control with like a rifler here, this guy would look to throw like the base utility, but instead of mollying default, what he would typically do is he would molly like big box, and he would flash like this. And off of that, they would actually get their opper posted on temple, right? And then once they had him posted on temple, they would go back, and that guy who was supporting the effort would just go take mid with the other guy who was staying here. And then they had, you know, maybe 1 or 2 guys outside of B. Now the concept was once they take mid control, they can smoke this, and they can molly back donut, and they can flash off the angles. There's a ton of cool supportive flashes, so maybe this guy made it up cat, and he could throw this flash for you. This flash will land over the ledge, and it'll blind any opper, you know, who's on like this angle, and you can then molly back donut. So in this scenario, what they ended up having was head trick would be posted on temple. So if anybody tried to like re-aggro this position, he'd have a free kill. But because he's already set up here, once they gather mid control and they push back donut, they can actually turn it into an A split really easily. And they could throw like an A split smoke like this from catwalk, or you could actually have a guy down here from the box, and he could aim right here and jump throw, and both of these will smoke spawn. So now in this scenario, they're coming heavy through donut after taking mid delayed, and they're splitting, and they know that nobody is going to fight them from big box or the temple angle. And typically in this process, one of those riflers would have cleared tree, right? So you know that basically nobody is on this side of the map, and all you really have to care for is default and that initial fight in donut. So this is a really great way to pull players off of mid and establish mid control, but also potentially work into an A split based on putting pressure toward the A bomb site. Now, similar to A, you can actually put a lot of pressure on B with a very simple nade set. And again, this will typically pull players off of cheetah and mid. And in this scenario, you can then get mid control and potentially cheetah control, facing way less counter utility or gunfights in general. So what Astralis does, and they kind of made this meta, is they throw a nade set where they're going to come here on the door. They're going to look for this leaf, and they're going to throw a short smoke. They're going to molly pillar, and they're going to flash over. Okay, now this is going to molly the pillar, so there's no angle here. It's going to smoke short, so any opper or rifler on this line is cut off, and that flash will block the opper from finding any pick here. Now, when they do this, they typically will actually put device on this box as well. And when they're throwing this nade set, he can then post, and now he's covering this line. So if the CTs want to gain any information, they can't really jiggle peek or jump peek long because device is going to shut them down. So by doing this, what it typically does is it's actually going to take this cheetah player away from caring about cheetah, and he's typically going to fall back toward cave and look to support his B site player because he could just be getting hit on the B bomb site, right? It looks like an execute. So this is going to allow you to get cheetah control much quicker and much easier. Now, this could enable the T's to jump up or the CTs rather to jump up catwalk and try to support B and take these fights. But in CS2 we can nade smoke. So a really cool thing you can add to this is when this is happening, you could have somebody in mid HE the smoke and then look to clear this cat box. And if that's clear, then you have a pretty good idea that they're actually falling off of mid. Now, when you throw this nade set and you throw this little, like, you know, fake, we'll call it, towards the B bomb site, you can actually use it. And what's really nice and what Astralis does really well is they mask this really well. Sometimes they'll have one guy here and he'll throw this nade set by himself, right? And they'll be executing the A bomb site. So it still draws a lot of attention towards the B bomb site, but they're hitting A. Alternatively, you can actually throw this exact nade set, and because you have device on this angle, or your opera in your team on this angle covering this line, you can actually have a couple of riflers just walk up. And while they're walking up, we can look to set up like some sort of flashes. Heroic really made these flashes popular. You jump throw and they land over top of the default pillar, but they don't blind you coming up, and they blind everybody playing wood, you know, playing this angle, playing further back here, cave, etc. And you can actually just turn it into like a delayed explosion. Now, worst case scenario, you just get the B player to dump his smoke top ramp, You get that cheetah player to fall off cheetah and care about B, which allows you to take cheetah much easier. And you get the mid players to fall to mid, and then you can go into a mid default. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can play with this, but this idea of like push and pull and manipulating rotates is something that pro teams do all the time. If you watch any demo, you'll see this basically every single game, but you might not know exactly what they were doing. So I hope this will help you guys when you're watching demos actually be able to like evaluate why a team is doing a certain thing around the map. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, go ahead and leave me a thumbs up and comment what you guys want to see next. I have a couple series in mind that I'm going to be working on, but I'm open to plenty of different ideas. I know a lot of people had questions for me after my first video that I posted the other day, so if you have any that you want me, any topics you want me to cover, just leave them in the comments, or you can join my Discord down in the link below, and you can ask me questions there. So I appreciate all the support. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.